That night, my son said something no mother should ever have to hear. We were at home. Kevin had organized an elegant dinner to celebrate his promotion at the company. White flowers on the table, candles, crystal glasses shimmering under the light of the chandelier. I was upstairs in my room finishing getting ready. I put on a red dress, discreet but elegant, and the silver brooch my mother gave me before she died. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, today my son celebrates his success. I want to be there. Then I heard his voice from the bottom of the stairs. Mom! I went out into the hallway. Yes, honey. Kevin climbed 3 steps, barely, as if he did not want to get too close. Do not come down. Please. I stood still. What did you say? He looked down. He took a deep breath, and when he looked at me again, his eyes were no longer those of my son. You embarrass me, Mom. The air stopped. Kevin continued, Linda is going to take your seat at the table. She actually knows how to behave at a dinner like this. I did not scream. I did not cry. I just looked at him, and I smiled, because in that moment, something inside me broke, but it also fell into place. It is okay, son. Enjoy your dinner. I closed my bedroom door. I sat on the edge of the bed. I touched the silver brooch, and I waited. I heard laughter downstairs, glasses toasting, the shrill voice of my daughter-in-law, Sarah, the deep voice of her mother, Linda, occupying my place at my table. 30 minutes later, I stood up. I fixed my hair. I put on my pearl earrings. I checked my makeup, and I went down the stairs. When I reached the dining room, everyone turned to look at me. Kevin went pale. Sarah stopped smiling. Linda frowned. But I was not alone. By my side, in an impeccable suit and a cordial smile, walked Mark Stevens, the general manager of Patterson Group, the company where my son had just been promoted. Mark extended his hand toward Kevin. Kevin, I want to formally introduce you to Mrs. Emily Patterson, majority shareholder of Patterson Group. Your promotion was personally approved by her. The silence was so deep you could hear the trembling of the wine glasses. Kevin did not move. I just said good night. Enjoy your dinner. And I turned around. That night, I did not go back down. But that night, everything changed. My name is Emily Patterson. I am 57 years old. And before I tell you what happened after that night, I need you to understand how I got there. Because no mother arrives at that moment by accident. I was born in Ohio in a family of merchants. My father had a small textile factory. We were not rich, but we did not lack anything either. I learned the value of work as a child, the smell of freshly cut fabric, the sound of machines at dawn. My father's hands stained with ink reviewing invoices every night. My mother was a quiet, elegant woman, always with a silver brooch pinned to the collar of her blouse. She told me, Emily, a woman who knows how to keep silent at the right moment, also knows when to speak. I admired her. I studied business administration. I graduated with honors. I met Robert Patterson in college. He was studying engineering. He was serious and responsible. He came from a traditional family in Chicago. We got married 2 years later. It was a simple wedding, white flowers, a string quartet. My mother gave me her silver brooch that day. So, you remember where you come from, daughter. Robert got a job at a textile company. I decided to stay home when Kevin was born. It was the most natural decision in the world. My son, my universe. Those big eyes that looked at me as if I were the only light in his life. I remember the mornings in the kitchen, the smell of fresh coffee, Kevin sitting in his high chair with his hands full of sweet bread, me singing songs to him while I prepared breakfast, Robert reading the newspaper, serious as always but smiling every time Kevin said Mom. Those were good years, quiet years. We lived in a modest house in the suburbs, nothing flashy, a small garden where Kevin played with his ball, a patio with flower pots that I watered every afternoon, a living room with furniture inherited from my mother-in-law. When Kevin turned 5, my father got sick, lung cancer. I went back to Ohio. I spent months taking care of him. Robert stayed in Chicago with Kevin. My mother could not handle it alone anymore. Neither could I. One afternoon, my father took my hand. "Emily, the factory is yours. Do not sell it. You have vision. You have strength. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise." He died 3 weeks later. I inherited the factory. Robert did not agree. "You have no experience, Emily. Sell it. Use the money for Kevin's education." But something in me refused. I hired an administrator. I reviewed the numbers every week. I traveled to Ohio twice a month. I learned to read balance sheets, to negotiate with suppliers, to detect when someone was lying to me. The factory grew. In 5 years, we doubled production. We opened 2 more branches. We hired 50 employees. We started exporting to Canada. Robert still did not approve. "You are neglecting your family, Emily." But Kevin never complained. I arrived tired, but I always had time for him. To help him with his homework, to take him to the movies on Sundays, to listen to him talk about his dreams. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be like you." Those words filled my heart. When Kevin was 12 years old, Robert died in a traffic accident. A truck ran a red light. There was no pain. That is what they told me. It was instant. We were left alone, Kevin and I. I cried for months, but I could not crumble. I had a son. I had a company. I had responsibilities. I kept going. Kevin went to the best schools. He never lacked anything. Private tutors, trips to Europe, a new computer every year. Everything he wanted. I worked 12 hours a day, but every night we had dinner together, no matter what. That was our rule. "How was your day, honey?" "Good, Mom." "And yours?" "Tiring, but seeing your face makes it better." He would smile. When he turned 18, I told him, "Kevin, everything I built is for you. Someday this will be yours." He hugged me. "Thanks, Mom. I will not let you down." He entered the university. He studied business administration just like me. He went out with friends. He had girlfriends. A normal life. I was proud. Until he met Sarah, a pretty girl. Brown hair, perfect smile, daughter of a wealthy family from the Gold Coast area. Her father was a lawyer. Her mother, Linda, organized charity events. At first, everything seemed fine. Sarah came to dinner on Fridays. I cooked. Kevin laughed more. He seemed happy, but something in Sarah's eyes never pleased me. There was a coldness, a way of looking me up and down, as if I were less. One afternoon, I heard a conversation. Sarah was talking on the phone in the garden. I was watering the plants. "Yes, Mom, I know, but Kevin has a future, and his mother has money. That is what matters." My blood ran cold, but I said nothing, because I still had hope. I still believed my son would see the truth. They got married 2 years later, a big wedding, very big, at a luxury hotel downtown, 300 guests, imported flowers, live orchestra. I paid for everything. Sarah wanted her mother to organize everything. I just wrote the checks. On the wedding day, Kevin hugged me. "Thanks for everything, Mom. You are the best. I just want you to be happy, honey." But that night, when I saw Linda occupying the place of honor next to the bride and groom, and me sitting 3 tables back, something inside me began to crack. And I did not know it until much later. But that night, it had already started. The first months after the wedding were strange. Kevin and Sarah moved to a condo downtown, new, modern, with huge windows and a terrace overlooking the city. I helped them with the down payment. Sarah chose the furniture. I only asked one thing. "Are you sure this is what you want?" Kevin kissed my forehead. "Yes, Mom, Sarah has good taste." I said nothing more. At first they came to dinner on Sundays, like we had always done. I cooked pot roast, lasagna, mashed potatoes, the recipes Kevin loved since he was a child, but Sarah barely tasted the food. "I am on a diet, Mrs. Patterson. You understand." She smiled, but her eyes did not. Linda came with them sometimes. She sat at the head of the table, the head where Robert used to sit, where my father used to sit when he visited us. I said nothing because I wanted to keep the peace. One afternoon, Kevin called me. "Mom, I need a favor. Tell me, honey. Could you lend me $5,000? It is for some expenses. $5,000. It was not a small amount, but it was not something I could not give him either. Did something happen? No, Mom. I just need the money." I transferred the money that same day. He never mentioned it again. 2 weeks later, I saw Sarah's photos in Cancun on social media. Luxury resort, cocktails in the pool, perfect sunsets, early anniversary with my love, the caption said. I felt something strange in my chest, but I said nothing, because it was his money now, right? The Sundays began to space out. "Mom, we cannot make it this Sunday. Sarah has an event with her family. Mom, this weekend we are going to the lake house with the in-laws. Mom, we are tired. Do you mind if we rest?" I never minded. I just said, "Of course, honey, rest." But the house started to feel bigger and emptier. One day I decided to surprise them. I stopped by their apartment without warning. I was carrying a container with homemade stew. I knew Kevin loved it. I rang the doorbell. Sarah opened the door. She was wearing a silk robe, perfect hair, impeccable makeup. "Mrs. Patterson?" "Hello, Sarah. I brought stew." "I thought that. Kevin is not here." "Oh, did he go out?" "He is working." I stood still. "Did he not tell you? He got a job at Patterson Group. He has been there for 3 weeks. Patterson Group, my company. The company I founded, that I built, that bore my last name. And my son. He was working there. And I did not know. No, he did not tell me." Sarah smiled. That cold smile I was starting to recognize. "Well, it is just that Kevin wanted to do it on his own. You know? Without Mommy's help." The word mommy sounded like an insult. "I understand. Do you want to come in?" "No, thank you. Just give him the stew." "Sure." She closed the door. I remained standing in the hallway, with the container in my hands, feeling that something inside me was starting to break. Kevin was working at my company, and he had not told me. That night I called him. "Kevin, why did you not tell me you were working at Patterson Group?" Silence. "Mom, I wanted to tell you, but what? I did not want you to think I was taking advantage of you. I would never think that, I know. But Sarah says I need to make my own path, that if you help me, people will think I am worthless on my own. Sarah says, Kevin, you are worth a lot. You always have been. Thanks, Mom. But please understand me. I need to show the world I can do it alone. It is okay, son." I hung up. And that night, I cried. Because my son was working at the company I built for him, and I did not even know. Sometimes we trust too much in those we should not. Have you also been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. The weeks passed. Kevin started rising fast in the company. Too fast. Mark Stevens, my general manager, called me. "Mrs. Patterson, your son is very capable, very hardworking. I'm glad to hear it. We have thought about promoting him to logistics supervisor. So soon? He has potential." I knew Mark was loyal, that he would do whatever I asked. But I also knew that if I intervened directly, Kevin would get angry. Sarah would get angry. So I let things flow. But something would not let me sleep. One afternoon, I went to the offices of Patterson Group. I entered through the back door. I went up the service elevator. I reached the logistics floor and saw Kevin. He was in his cubicle, serious, concentrated, reviewing papers, talking on the phone. He looked happy. I was about to leave when I heard voices in the conference room. I recognized Sarah's voice. "You have to ask your mom to put you in a better position. You cannot stay in logistics. That is for common employees." "Sarah, I have only been here 2 months. It does not matter. She is the owner. If you ask her, she will give it to you. Or does she not love you enough?" Silence. "My mom loves me, but I do not want to ask her for anything." "Kevin, do not be naive. She has millions. Why not take advantage of it? My mom says you should be in management, not wasting time with boxes and shipments. I am not wasting time. Do you know how much the director of operations makes? $30,000 a month? How much do you make? $3,000. It is ridiculous. I froze. So that was it. It was not love. It was not support. It was ambition. I left without making a noise. That night, I touched the silver brooch I always wore on my collar. And I remembered my mother's words. A woman who knows how to keep silent at the right moment also knows when to speak. It was not yet time to speak, but that moment was close. I decided to stay silent, not because I was a coward, but because I still had hope. Hope that Kevin would wake up, that he would see what I already saw, that he would remember who he was before meeting Sarah. But hope sometimes makes us blind. The following months were like walking on broken glass. Every step hurt. But I kept moving forward. Kevin kept moving up in the company. First it was supervisor, then area coordinator, then assistant director of operations. Mark called me every time there was a promotion. Mrs. Patterson, do you agree with promoting Kevin? Does he deserve it? He is a good worker. But there are others with more experience. Then give the position to them. With all due respect, Mrs. Patterson, your son comes to my office every week. He insists he is ready for more responsibilities. I remained silent. What do you want me to do, ma'am? Give him the job, Mark, but make him earn it. Make him feel he achieved it by himself. Understood. It went like that for 2 years. Kevin grew in the company. He made more money. Every promotion came with a salary increase, with a new car, with an expensive watch, with dinners at restaurants I would never know. And I was still the mother waiting for Sundays, but Sundays no longer came. One afternoon, Kevin called me. Mom Sarah and I are thinking of buying a house. A house? Yes, in the upscale suburbs. There is an incredible estate, 4 bedrooms, garden pool. It is perfect. I am happy for you, son. The problem is we need a little help with the down payment. How much do you need? $100,000. $100,000. I lost my breath. Kevin, that is a lot of money. I know, Mom, but it is an investment. And you always say real estate is a good investment. Besides, we will pay you back. I promise. I do not need you to pay me back. But are you sure you can maintain a house like that? Of course. I am earning well, and Sarah is about to open her decoration business. Sarah works? Well, not yet, but soon. Silence. Mom, are you going to help us or not? That question, that way of asking. As if I had the obligation, as if it were my duty. Of course, son. I transferred the money that same week. They never mentioned it again. 6 months later, I saw the photos on social media. The house. Huge. Modern. With designer furniture, abstract paintings on the walls, a kitchen that looked like it was taken from a magazine. Sarah posted photos every day. My perfect home. Thank God for this blessing. Living the dream. She never tagged me. She never thanked me. She never invited me to see the house. One Sunday, I dared to call. Kevin, I would like to see your new house. Oh yes, Mom. Sure. One of these days we will organize something. That day never came. While I tell all this, I think about where you might be listening to me. Write the name of your city in the comments. I started seeing Kevin only at company events, shareholder meetings, corporate dinners, annual results presentations. He arrived with Sarah, always impeccable, always smiling, always distant. He greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. How are you? Good. Busy, and he would leave. Sarah looked at me from afar. With that smile, I already knew. Cold. Calculating. Sometimes she approached. Mrs. Patterson, what a nice dress. Thanks, Sarah. Is it from? Where? From a boutique downtown. Ah, how nice. But the tone said otherwise. Linda also came to those events, always on Sarah's arm, always elegant, always looking at me as if I were the intruder. One night during a New Year's dinner, Linda sat next to me. Emily, so good to see you. Likewise, Linda. Listen, I wanted to tell you something. Kevin has grown so much in the company. He must be a source of pride for you. He is. Sarah and I always tell him to take advantage of this opportunity. Not everyone has such a generous mother. Generous. The word floated in the air like a disguised insult. I just want the best for my son. Of course, all mothers want that, but sometimes you have to know when to let them go. Let them fly alone. Do you understand me? I looked her in the eyes. I understand perfectly, Linda. She smiled and she left. That night when I got home, I sat in the living room. In the same armchair where I used to read stories to Kevin when he was a child, I touched the silver brooch and I cried. I cried because my son was drifting away. I cried because he no longer called to tell me about his day. I cried because he no longer came on Sundays. I cried because I was no longer his priority. And the worst of all is that I was allowing it. Because I was afraid of losing him completely. Afraid that if I said something, he would kick me out of his life forever. So I remained silent. I kept signing checks. I kept smiling in photos. I kept pretending everything was fine. But inside, I was dying. One day, Kevin asked me for another favor. Mom, I need you to sign some papers. What papers? It is for a project at the company. I need your authorization. What is it about? It is technical. Mark already reviewed it. I just need your signature. I believed him. I signed. 2 weeks later, Mark called me. Mrs. Patterson, did you authorize the purchase of 3 new trucks for Kevin's department? 3 trucks? Yes, with a total cost of $120,000. I froze. Mark, I signed some documents, but Kevin told me it was for a project. Mrs. Patterson, the documents you signed authorize the purchase of those vehicles and also authorize a performance bonus for Kevin of $50,000. $50,000. Mark did. Kevin asked you to prepare those documents? Silence. Yes, ma'am. He told me you had already approved it. I hung up, and that night something inside me changed. It was no longer sadness. It was no longer fear. It was clarity. That cold and painful clarity that comes when you finally accept the truth. My son was using me, and I was allowing it. After that call with Mark, something in me woke up. It was not rage. It was not revenge. It was lucidity. That uncomfortable lucidity that comes when you finally realize you have been blind, that you have been justifying the unjustifiable, that you have been allowing them to hurt you because you were afraid of being alone. For days, I did not call Kevin. I waited. I waited for him to call me, to ask me how I was, to look for me. A week passed, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, nothing. Finally, it was me who dialed. Kevin, I need to talk to you. Mom, I am busy. Can it be later? It is important. He sighed. Okay. What is it about? The documents I signed last month. Mark told me they authorized the purchase of 3 trucks and a bonus for you. Silence. Kevin, you told me it was for a project? And it is, Mom. The trucks are for the project. We need them. And the $50,000 bonus? It is part of my compensation. I work a lot, Mom. I deserve that money. Kevin, I have never doubted your work. But you lied to me. I did not lie to you. I did not give you all the details. That is lying. Mom, I do not have time for this. If you have a problem with how I handle things at the company, talk to Mark. Kevin, I have to go. See you. He hung up. I was left holding the phone, with my hands shaking. And that night, I made a decision. If my son was not going to tell me the truth, I would find it on my own. The next day, I went to the Patterson Group offices. I did not warn anyone. I did not call. I just arrived. Mark received me in his office. Mrs. Patterson? What a surprise, Mark. I need you to be honest with me. I always am, ma'am. How is Kevin really working? Mark looked down. Mark, tell me the truth, please. He took a deep breath. Kevin is smart. He has potential. But He's not at the level of his current responsibilities. What do you mean? He arrives late frequently. He delegates too much. He makes decisions without consulting. And when something goes wrong, he blames others. I remained silent. There are several employees who have complained. They say Kevin has favoritism, that he only got where he is because he is your son. And is it true? Mark looked me straight in the eyes. You know the answer, ma'am. Yes, I knew it. Why did you not tell me before? Because you asked me to treat him like any other employee, and I did. But every time I try to set limits for him, he tells me he is going to talk to you, that you support him. I have never said that. I know, but he uses it as a shield. I stood up. Thank you, Mark, for your honesty. What are you going to do, ma'am? I do not know yet. I left that office with a broken heart, but also with clarity. That afternoon, I did something I had never done. I searched social media for Sarah's profile, not just the public photos, also the comments, the tags, the interactions, and there I found something that froze my blood, a public conversation. Between Sarah and one of her friends, the friend had commented on a photo of the house, "Friend, what a beautiful house." "How did you do it?" And Sarah replied, "Ha ha ha, thanks. You know Kevin has his contacts. And his mom? Well, she always opens her wallet." I read that phrase over and over again. She always opens her wallet, as if I were a bank account, as if my love had a price. I kept searching, and I found more. Photos of trips, restaurants, designer clothes, expensive jewelry, everything tagged, everything shown off. And in the comments, always the same story. Kevin spoiled me. My husband knows how to treat me. Blessed with this man. But never. Never did she mention where the money came from. She never mentioned that I had paid for the house. She never mentioned that I had paid for the cars. She never mentioned that I had built the company where Kevin worked. It was as if I did not exist. That night, I could not sleep. I stayed sitting in the living room with the silver brooch between my fingers, and I remembered something my mother told me once. Emily, when someone erases you from their story, it is because they know that without you, there is no story. The next day, I decided to do something that hurt me deeply. I went to Kevin and Sarah's house without warning. I rang the doorbell. Sarah opened it. She was wearing designer sweatpants hair in a perfect ponytail, a cup of coffee in her hand. "Mrs. Patterson?" "Hello, Sarah. Is Kevin here?" "No, he is at work. I see. Can I come in?" She hesitated, but finally nodded. "Sure." I entered. The house was bigger than I imagined. High ceilings, marble floors, expensive furniture, giant paintings on the walls, all paid for with my money. "Do you want coffee?" "No, thank you." We sat in the living room. "Sarah, I want to talk to you." "About what?" "About Kevin. About you two? About all of this." She smiled. That cold smile. "I do not understand." "Yes, you understand." She got serious. "Mrs. Patterson, if you are here to claim something from us, I am not here to claim anything. I am here to understand." "Understand what?" "Why Kevin no longer looks for me. Why he does not come to see me. Why? It seems that I no longer matter." Sarah put the cup on the table. "Ma'am, with all due respect, Kevin is already an adult man. He has his own life, his own family." "I know, and sometimes mothers have to let go." There it was again, that word, let go. "Sarah, I have never wanted to control him. I just want to be in his life. And you are. But you cannot pretend that everything remains the same as when Kevin was a child. I do not pretend that. Then what do you pretend? That he treats me with respect, that he does not lie to me, that he does not use me." Sarah stood up. "No one is using anyone, Mrs. Patterson. Kevin works hard. He deserves everything he has. I have never said otherwise. But you imply it. You always imply it, as if Kevin were not capable of anything without you. That is not true. Is it not? Then stop treating him as if he were your baby. Stop being on top of him. Stop controlling everything." I remained silent, because in that moment I understood. It did not matter what I said. It did not matter what I did. To Sarah, I would always be the obstacle, the meddling mother, the uncomfortable mother-in-law, the woman who was extra. I stood up. Thank you for your time, Sarah. Mrs. Patterson, do not worry, I understood. I left that house with tears in my eyes, but also with something else, with the certainty that I could not go on like this anymore, that I could no longer keep begging for a place in my son's life, that I could no longer keep paying for love. That night, I called Mark. Mark, I need you to do me a favor. Tell me, Mrs. Patterson, I want you to organize a dinner at my house to celebrate Kevin's next promotion. Promotion? Yes. We are going to promote him to Director of Operations. Ma'am, are you sure? Completely sure. And who else will attend? Kevin, Sarah, his mother-in-law, Linda. And you? Just us? Just us. Mark hesitated. Ma'am, what are you planning? I smiled. Nothing bad, Mark. Just a dinner. I hung up. And that night, while I touched the silver brooch, I knew the moment had arrived. The moment to speak. The moment to show the truth. The moment to let karma do its work. The week before the dinner was one of the longest of my life. Not because I was nervous, but because I had finally made a decision. And when a 57-year-old woman makes a decision after years of silence, that decision is final. Kevin called me 3 days before the dinner. Mom, Mark told me you organized a dinner to celebrate my promotion. That is right. Why did you not tell me before? I wanted it to be a surprise. Ah, well, thanks. You are welcome, honey. Is anyone else going? Just the closest ones. Sarah, your mother-in-law? Mark, my mother-in-law? Yes, I thought it would be nice for Linda to be present. After all, she is also part of your life now. Silence. Okay, Mom. Are you happy with your promotion? Of course. I have worked hard for this. I know, son. We'll see you on Friday then. See you. I hung up, and I smiled, because I knew something Kevin did not know. I knew that dinner was going to change everything. I spent the following days preparing myself, not just the dinner, but myself. I went to the beauty salon. I fixed my hair. I got a manicure. I bought a new dress, red, elegant, with a discreet but confident neckline. The woman in the mirror was no longer the same one who had cried for months. She was a woman who had regained her dignity. Friday night arrived. I hired a catering service. White flowers on the table, candles, crystal glasses, silver cutlery, everything impeccable. The table was set for 6 people, but only 5 knew they were coming. At 7 in the evening, they started arriving. Kevin arrived first with Sarah. She was wearing a blue dress, very high heels, perfect makeup hair, loose and shiny. Mom. Kevin kissed my cheek. Hi, honey. You look so handsome. Thanks. Sarah approached. Mrs. Patterson, your house is so pretty. It has been a while since I came. I smiled. Thanks, Sarah. It has been a while since you invited me to yours either. Sarah's smile froze. Ah, yes. It is just that we have been very busy, I imagine. Linda arrived 10 minutes later. She was wearing a cream-colored suit, pearl necklace designer bag. She looked important. Emily, so good to see you. Likewise, Linda. Your house is charming. Very cozy. Cozy. The word people use when they want to say small. Thank you. It is humble, but it is mine. We sat in the living room. I offered glasses of white wine. Kevin was nervous. He kept looking at his watch. Is Mark coming? Yes, he will not be long. Sarah looked at everything with those calculating eyes I already knew. The furniture, the paintings, the decoration. Mrs. Patterson, have you never thought about remodeling? No. I like it the way it is. Ah, it is just that I could give you some ideas. You know, with my decoration business. I did not know you already had a business, Sarah. Well, it is not officially open yet, but I am working on it. Linda intervened. Sarah has a lot of talent. She just needs a little initial capital. She stared at me. I see. The doorbell rang. I stood up. Must be Mark. I opened the door, And there he was with his impeccable suit, his leather briefcase, his professional smile. "Mrs. Patterson, Mark, thank you for coming. It is an honor." But Mark did not come alone. By his side was Roger Miller, the corporate lawyer for Patterson Group. Kevin did not know him, but I did. We entered the living room. Kevin stood up immediately. "Mark, good to see you." "Likewise, Kevin. Congratulations on your promotion." "Thanks." Kevin looked at Roger Miller with confusion. "And you are?" "Roger Miller, corporate lawyer." "Ah, nice to meet you." We sat at the table, me at the head, Kevin to my right, Sarah next to him, Linda across from Kevin, Mark, and Roger Miller at the ends. The catering service served dinner: asparagus cream salad with raspberry vinaigrette beef fillet with potatoes, freshly baked bread. Everything was perfect, but the atmosphere was tense. Kevin tried to make conversation. "Mom, the food is delicious." "Thanks, son. Did you cook?" "No, I hired a service. I wanted everything to be special." Sarah intervened. "It is very elegant, Mrs. Patterson. I did not know you liked organizing dinners like this. There are many things you do not know about me, Sarah." She stopped smiling. Linda tried to break the tension. "Well, we are here to celebrate Kevin. You must be very proud, Emily." "I have always been proud of my son." "Of course. And now with this promotion, surely he will have many more responsibilities." "That is right." Kevin took a sip of wine. "Mark told me the position includes a considerable raise." "Yes," Mark replied. "Director of Operations has a salary of $30,000 a month." Sarah almost choked on her wine. "30,000? That is right." Linda smiled broadly. "Wow, that is very generous. Patterson Group values its employees," I said. "Especially when they are family," added Linda. There it was. The insinuation. I left my fork on the plate. "Linda, what do you mean by that?" She adjusted herself in her chair. "Nothing bad, Emily. Just that. It is logical that Kevin has certain advantages. He is your son. It is natural that you support him." "Advantages?" "Yes, you know. Fast promotions, bonuses, opportunities." Kevin intervened. "Mom, I have earned every promotion. I know, son." "No, you do not know because you have never been there. You have never seen how much I work." Sarah touched his hand. "Kevin, calm down." But he was already upset. "No, Sarah. I am already tired of this. I am tired of everyone thinking I am only where I am because my mom is the owner." I remained silent. "I have worked hard, Mom. I arrive early. I stay late. I solve problems. I make decisions. And even so, everyone believes you gave me everything." Mark cleared his throat. "Kevin, with all due respect." "What, Mark? Do you also think that?" Mark looked at me. I signaled him with my head. "Kevin, you are a good worker, but there are things you should know." "Like what?" "Like that every single one of your promotions was approved directly by your mother." Kevin went pale. "What? Every salary increase, every bonus, every benefit, everything went through her authorization." "That is not true." "Yes, it is," I said. Everyone looked at me. I stood up from my chair. I touched the silver brooch on my collar. "Kevin, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen to me without interrupting. Mom, please." He remained silent. I took a deep breath. 32 years ago, I inherited a small textile factory in Ohio. No one believed in me. Not your father, not my brothers, not my partners. Everyone thought I would sell it, that I would fail. I walked around the table, but I did not. I worked 14 hours a day. I learned from scratch. I negotiated. I fought. And little by little, that small factory became Patterson Group. Kevin looked at me with wide eyes. "When your father died, you were 12 years old. We were left alone. And I promised you that you would never lack anything. And I kept that promise. Mom, I know all that. No, you do not know. Because I have never told you how much it cost. I stopped in front of him. I paid for the best schools, the best trips, the best clothes, the best life. I never asked you for anything in return, just that you be happy. Sarah looked down. When you married Sarah, I gave you $200,000 for your house. You never paid me back. You never thanked me. Mom, we thanked you. When Kevin? When? Silence. When you started working at Patterson Group, I asked Mark to treat you like any other employee, to make you earn your place. But every time he tried to set limits, you threatened him with talking to me. Kevin turned pale. Every promotion you received was because I authorized it. Every bonus, every benefit, every opportunity, everything came from me. Mom, I did not know. Of course you knew. Everyone knew. I looked at Sarah. You knew. That is why every time you needed money, Kevin asked me, because you knew I would always say yes. Sarah opened her mouth, but she said nothing. I looked at Linda. And you also knew. That is why you always treated me as if I were a nuisance, because you knew that without me there would be nothing. Linda turned red. Emily, I never. Yes, you did. In every comment, in every look, in every insinuation that I should let go of my son. I turned to Kevin. But what hurts me the most, son, is that you pushed me aside. You stopped calling me. You stopped visiting me. You stopped seeing me. Tears began to roll down my cheeks, and I allowed it. Because I was afraid. Afraid of losing you. Afraid that if I said something, you would kick me out of your life completely. Kevin's eyes were wet. Mom. But tonight I understood something. I touched the silver brooch. My mother told me once, a woman who knows how to keep silent at the right moment also knows when to speak. I looked everyone in the eyes, and the moment to speak has arrived. The silence was absolute. Kevin, I love you. I have always loved you. But I cannot go on like this. I cannot keep paying for your love. I cannot keep being invisible in your life. Mom, you are not invisible. Yes, I am. 3 months ago was my birthday. Did you call me? Kevin looked down. No, 6 months ago I had gallbladder surgery. Did you know? No. A year ago I sold the factory in Ohio. The one I inherited from my father. The one that hurt so much to let go. Did you find out? No. Do you know why you did not find out? He did not answer. Because you never asked. Kevin's tears began to fall. Mom, I'm sorry, I know, but apologies are not enough. I returned to my place at the head of the table. Tonight, I was going to announce your promotion. I was going to celebrate you. I was going to keep pretending everything was fine. I looked at Roger Miller, but instead of that, I am going to do something different. The lawyer opened his briefcase. He took out a folder. Mr. Miller, please. He cleared his throat. I have prepared the documents that Mrs. Patterson requested. Kevin looked at him with confusion. What documents? The documents for Mrs. Patterson's resignation as majority shareholder of Patterson Group. Everyone froze. What? Kevin stood up suddenly. Mom, what are you doing? I'm letting you go, Kevin, like everyone wanted. No, you cannot do that. Yes, I can. And I am going to do it. Sarah also stood up. Mrs. Patterson, wait. No, Sarah, I have waited enough. I looked at Kevin. Starting tomorrow, I will no longer be part of Patterson Group. I am going to sell my shares. And you? You are going to go your own way alone. Mom, please. I still ask myself if I did the right thing. And you? What would you have done in my place? Kevin collapsed into his chair, head in his hands. Linda was pale. Sarah was trembling. Mark looked at me with respect. And I finally breathed. Because for the first time in years, I felt I had regained my voice, my dignity, my power. The silence that followed my words was like the silence before a storm. Heavy electric full of things no one dared to say. Kevin raised his head. His eyes were red. "Mom, you cannot do this. I already did, son." But the company is yours. It is your life. It is. It was my life. Before you turned it into a battlefield. Sarah stood up abruptly. "This is ridiculous. Mrs. Patterson, you cannot take decisions like this just because you are angry. I am not angry, Sarah. I am tired." "Tired?" Linda intervened. "Emily, please. This is an exaggeration. All children distance themselves a little when they get married. It is normal." I looked at her with a calmness that surprised myself. "Linda, you have spent 2 years telling me to let go of my son, to let him fly, to step aside. Well, that is exactly what I am doing. But not like this? Then how? How did you want me to do it? Keep paying in silence? Keep being the wallet that always opens up?" Sarah turned pale hearing those words. She recognized her own comment on social media. "I never said." "Yes, you did. She always opens her wallet. Do you remember?" The color disappeared completely from her face. It was a thoughtless comment. Thoughtless comments are the most honest, Sarah. Kevin looked at me with a mixture of pain and confusion. "Did you check her social media?" "Yes, because you erased me from your real life. I only had left to see your fake life on the internet. Mom, that is not fair. You know it is not fair, Kevin, that your mother pays for your house and you never invite her to see it, that your mother authorizes your promotion and you embarrass her in front of guests, that your mother builds a company for you and you act as if you had built it alone." Every word was like a knife, but not of rage, of truth. Kevin covered his face with his hands. "I did not want things to be like this. Then why did you allow it?" Because I... Sarah touched his shoulder. "Kevin, you do not have to explain anything." "Yes, he has to explain. I said because I deserve it." Mark intervened gently. "Mrs. Patterson, are you sure you want to sell your shares? It is a very big decision." "Completely sure, Mark. And who do you plan to sell them to?" "To an investment group from Texas. I already have the offer. It is $60 million. Kevin raised his head suddenly. $60 million? That is right. But that means that the company will no longer be mine nor yours. It will belong to strangers." Linda stood up. "Emily, you cannot do that. Kevin works there. He has a future there. Kevin has a university degree. He has experience. If he is really as good as he says, he will find work anywhere." "But it is not the same," shouted Sarah. "Patterson Group has your last name. It is his legacy. It was my legacy. But Kevin decided I was not part of his life, so he will not be part of mine either." "Mom, please." Kevin stood up. "Do not throw everything away for a moment of anger. This is not a moment, Kevin. These are 2 years of humiliation, 2 years of silence, 2 years of feeling invisible." I approached him. "Do you know how many times I cried waiting for you to call? How many times I prepared food thinking you would come? How many times I stayed awake wondering what I did wrong?" My voice cracked. "I gave you everything, Kevin. Everything, and you. You left me in oblivion." Tears rolled down his face. "Mom, I'm sorry. Truly I am sorry, I know. But forgiveness is not enough. What do you want then?" "I want you to understand what it feels like to lose everything just like I lost it." Roger Miller cleared his throat. "Mrs. Patterson, if you sign these documents tonight, the sale will be effective in 72 hours. I took the pen. Kevin reached out his hand. "Mom, wait. Please give me a chance." Me. "Let me show you I can change." "Kevin, I do not need you to change. I need you to realize what? That money does not buy love. That success does not replace loyalty, that a mother is not an ATM." Sarah started to cry. "Mrs. Patterson, please, we need you. You need me, or do you need my money?" She did not answer. "That is the difference, Sarah. You have never needed me, only what I could give you." Linda approached. "Emily, be reasonable. Think about your son. Think about his future. I have spent 32 years thinking about his future. Now I am going to think about mine. I signed the first document, then the second, and the third. Every signature was a liberation. Every stroke was a goodbye. Not to my son, but to the illusion that someday things would go back to how they were. When I finished, I handed the documents to Roger Miller. Done. Kevin collapsed in his chair, completely defeated. And now what, Mom? Now what am I going to do? What we all do when we lose something important. Learn. Learn what? To value what you have before it is gone. I took off the silver brooch from my neck, the brooch my mother gave me, the brooch I had used in all the important moments of my life. I approached Kevin. Take it. What is this? It is my mother's brooch. She gave it to me on my wedding day. She told me to use it to remember where I come from. I put it in his hand. I want you to keep it. And every time you see it, I want you to remember this night. I want you to remember that love cannot be bought, that family is not abandoned, and that a mother will always be a mother, even if you decide to forget it. Kevin closed his hand around the brooch, and he cried. He cried like he had not cried in years. Sarah was paralyzed. Linda had a lost look. Mark looked at me with a mixture of sadness and admiration. I headed to the door. The dinner is over. Please leave. Mom. Kevin stood up. Can I talk to you? We already talked, Kevin. Please, not tonight. Tonight I need to be alone. When then? When you understand why I did this. I opened the door. One by one they left, Sarah crying, Linda in silence, Mark with a respectful goodbye. Kevin was the last to leave. He stopped at the threshold. Mom, I love you. I know, son, but sometimes love is not enough. What do you mean? That love without respect is manipulation. And I am not going to allow anyone to manipulate me anymore. I never wanted to manipulate you, but you did. Every time you asked me for money knowing I could not deny you. Every time you used my love as an excuse for your irresponsibility. Every time you pushed me out of your life but kept me close to your wallet. He remained silent. Good night, Kevin. I closed the door, and for the first time in 2 years, I was left alone. Completely alone. But I did not feel empty. I felt free. I walked to the living room. I sat on the same sofa where I used to read stories to Kevin when he was a child. I touched my neck, the place where the brooch always was, and even though I no longer had it, I felt my mother's presence. I did it, Mom. I finally spoke, and in the silence of that empty house, I felt peace. That night, I did not sleep. I stayed sitting in the living room looking at the photos on the wall. Kevin at 5 with his ball in the garden. Kevin at 12 the day of his elementary graduation. Kevin at 18 the day he entered college. Kevin on his wedding day smiling next to Sarah. Every photo was a memory. Every memory was a goodbye. Because I knew that after tonight nothing would be the same. And I did not regret it. Because sometimes losing something is the only way to recover yourself. Sometimes letting go is the greatest act of self-love. Sometimes saying no more is the bravest thing you can do. That night, while silence filled every corner of my house, I understood something my mother always knew. That a woman who respects herself never loses herself, even if she loses everything else. The days after that dinner were the strangest of my life. Not because I was alone, but because for the first time in years, I felt complete. Monday morning, I received a call from Mark. Mrs. Patterson, the investors from Texas, confirmed the purchase. They want to meet with you on Friday to sign the final contract. Perfect, Mark. I will be there. Can I ask you something? Sure. Are you sure about this? There is still time to reconsider. I looked out the window. The garden I had cared for years. The flowers Robert planted. The rocking chair where I sat to think. More sure than ever, Mark, I understand. And Kevin? Has he spoken to you? No. Do you want me to tell you how he is? No. When he is ready, he will find me. Ma'am, he is devastated. Good. That means he is finally feeling something real. Silence. With all due respect, Mrs. Patterson, I think you did the right thing. Thanks, Mark. I hung up, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. The following days were a mix of liberation and melancholy. I put all of Kevin's photos in a box. I did not throw them away, but I did not leave them in sight either. I cleaned the house. I donated old clothes. I rearranged the furniture. I opened the windows. It was as if I were cleaning my life, letting go of what no longer served me. Wednesday afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. It was Sarah. She had swollen eyes, no makeup, her hair tied in a messy ponytail, sweatpants and a hoodie. I had never seen her like this. Mrs. Patterson, can I come in? I hesitated, but finally I nodded. Come in. We entered the living room. She sat on the edge of the sofa, nervous. Do you want water? Coffee? No, thanks. I sat across from her. Why are you here, Sarah? She lowered her gaze. I came to ask for forgiveness. Forgiveness for what? For everything. For how I treated you. For the things I said. For distancing Kevin from you. Does Kevin know you are here? No. He is very bad, Mrs. Patterson. He has not slept. He barely eats. He just sits staring at the brooch you gave him. I felt something in my chest, but I did not yield. And you? How are you? Scared. Of what? Of losing everything. There it was, the truth. Losing everything? Or losing the money? She looked up with tears in her eyes. I know you think I was only interested in the money and maybe at the beginning it was like that, but I do love Kevin. Do you love him? Or do you love the life he gives you? I do not know. At least she was honest. Sarah, do you know why I did what I did? Because you were angry. No, because I was tired. Tired of being invisible. Tired of being used. Tired of my love being conditional. I never wanted you to feel that way, but that is how you made me feel. You and your mother. Sarah started to cry. My mom always told me to marry someone who could give me a good life, that love is not enough, that I need security. And did Kevin give it to you? Yes, but now I do not know if what I feel for him is love or habit. I remained silent because that was a question only she could answer. Mrs. Patterson, do you think Kevin loves me? I think Kevin loves the idea of you, the perfect wife, the perfect family, the perfect life. But I do not know if he really knows you. And do you think I know him? What do you think? She remained silent, and in that silence was the answer. Why did you really come, Sarah? Because I am afraid everything will crumble. It already crumbled. The question is, what are you going to build now? And if we cannot build anything, then you will know the truth. What truth? That what you had was not real. It was an illusion sustained by my money. Sarah covered her face with her hands, and she cried. She cried like a lost child. And for a moment, I felt compassion for her. Sarah, I'm going to tell you something my mother told me once. She looked up. A woman who builds her life on the money of others will never be free because she will always live with the fear of losing it. And what should I do? That only you know. She wiped her tears. Will you ever forgive us? I already forgave you, Sarah. To forgive does not mean to forget, nor does it mean to return. Then what does it mean? It means letting go of the pain, but not letting go of the lesson. She stood up. Thank you for receiving me. You are welcome. She walked towards the door, but stopped. Mrs. Patterson, Kevin misses you. A lot, I know. Do you miss him too? Every day, but that does not change what I did. Why not? Because love is not enough when there is no respect. Sarah nodded, and she left. I closed the door, and I realized something. Sarah did not come to ask forgiveness for me. She came to ask forgiveness for herself, because she was starting to understand what it feels like to lose something you never valued. Thursday night, I received a message from Kevin. It was a voice message. I hesitated, but finally I played it. Mom, it is me. I know you do not want to talk to me, and I understand. But I need to tell you something." His voice sounded broken. "You are right. About everything. I was a bad son. I used you. I ignored you. I made you feel invisible, and there is no excuse for that." I heard his ragged breathing. "I have been thinking a lot. About everything you said. About everything I did. And I realize that I lost you a long time ago. Not on Friday, but years ago." Silence. And the worst is that I did not even notice. I was so busy trying to be someone important that I forgot the most important person in my life. My heart clenched. "Mark told me you are going to sign the sale on Friday. And I understand why you are doing it. Because I forced you to do it. Because I showed you that I did not deserve your sacrifice." His voice broke. "I just want you to know that I love you, Mom. I have always loved you, even if I have not shown it, even if I have acted as if I did not care." I cried. I cried listening to the words I had waited for years. I do not ask you to change your mind. I do not ask you to forgive me. I just ask that you know I realize it, that I finally understand what I lost. The message ended. I sat with the phone in my hand, and for the first time since that dinner, I felt something in my heart soften. But I did not reply, because it was not yet time. Friday arrived. I dressed in a navy blue suit. I put on pearl earrings. I fixed my hair. I did my makeup carefully. But I did not put on the silver brooch, because that brooch was now with Kevin, and it was better that way. I arrived at the Patterson Group offices at 10 in the morning. The building I had seen grow. The walls I knew by heart. The company I had built with blood, sweat, and tears. Everything was about to stop being mine, and I did not regret it. Mark was waiting for me in the boardroom. Next to him, 3 men in perfect suits, the investors from Texas, Mrs. Patterson. These are Mr. Smith, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Williams. We greeted each other. "It is an honor to meet you, Mrs. Patterson. Patterson Group is an exceptional company. Thank you." We sat down. Roger Miller opened his briefcase. "We have the contracts ready. If Mrs. Patterson signs today, the transaction will be effective in 72 hours. "Perfect." One of the investors cleared his throat. "Mrs. Patterson, before signing, I would like to ask you something. Tell me, why are you selling?" "Patterson Group is at its best moment. The projections are excellent. It makes no sense to sell now." I looked out the window towards the city that had been my home for so many years. I am selling because I learned something important. What? That sometimes the most valuable thing you have is not what you build, but knowing when to let it go. He nodded. "With respect, I understand." I took the pen, and I signed. Once, twice, 3 times. Every signature was a goodbye, but also a new beginning. When I finished, the investors shook my hand. "It has been a pleasure doing business with you, Mrs. Patterson." "Likewise." Mark accompanied me to the door. "Ma'am, what is going to happen now?" "Living, Mark. Finally, I am going to live. And Kevin will have to learn to live too. Without me. Does he know the sale was signed today?" "I did not tell him. It is going to hurt." "I know. But sometimes pain is the only way to wake up." Mark smiled sadly. "It has been an honor working with you all these years. The honor was mine, Mark." We hugged, and I left that building for the last time, with my head high, with my heart light, with the certainty that I had done the right thing. That night in my house, I made myself a chamomile tea. I sat in the garden, under the stars, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace, because I had learned something that changed my life, that true love is not sacrificing yourself until you disappear. It is loving yourself enough to set limits. It is respecting your own dignity. It is knowing that you can lose everything except yourself. And that night, while the wind moved the leaves of the flowers, I felt my mother was with me smiling proud, because finally I had learned to let go. 3 months after signing the sale, my life was completely different. Not materially, but essentially. I sold the house in the suburbs. It was too big for me alone. Too many memories, too many shadows of the past. I bought a small apartment in a historic neighborhood with big windows that let in the light, a balcony with pots full of flowers, a kitchen where I only cooked for myself. It was perfect. I started doing things I had postponed for years. I took painting classes. I discovered I liked oil painting, the vibrant colors, the freedom to create something just for the pleasure of creating it. I joined a book club, women my age with stories similar to mine, divorces, distant children, rebuilt lives. We met on Tuesdays. We drank coffee, we talked about books, and about life. For the first time in years. I had friends. One of them, Beatrice, told me one afternoon, "Emily, you look different." Different how? Lighter, as if you had taken a weight off your shoulders. I smiled. That is exactly how I feel. During those 3 months, I did not look for Kevin, and he did not look for me. At first it hurt. Every day I waited for a message, a call, something. But little by little, the pain transformed into acceptance, and acceptance into peace. Mark called me from time to time, just to know how I was. "Mrs. Patterson, how are you doing?" "Good, Mark." "Very good. I am glad to hear it. And how is the company going?" "The new owners are making changes. Some good, some not so much." "And Kevin?" Silence. "What happened, Mark?" "Kevin no longer works at Patterson Group." I froze. "What?" "The investors reviewed all the files. They found irregularities." "What kind of irregularities?" "Personal expenses charged to the company, unjustified bonuses, false performance reports." My heart stopped. Did Kevin do that? Not directly, but he authorized many of those expenses. And when the investors asked him for explanations, he could not justify them. Did they fire him? They asked for his resignation. If he did not resign, they were going to sue him. I closed my eyes. When did this happen? 2 weeks ago. Why did you not tell me before? Because I thought you did not want to know. I will always want to know Mark. He is my son. I know, ma'am. Sorry, do you know how he is? Not very well. Sarah left him. What? A week ago. She left the house. She asked for a divorce. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Why? From what I heard, because Kevin no longer has money. The house is about to be foreclosed. The cars were returned. And Sarah. Well, Sarah did not want to stay for the hard part. I remained silent because although part of me felt pain for my son, another part understood that this was necessary, that this was the lesson Kevin needed to learn. Thanks for telling me, Mark. Are you going to look for him? No, not yet. Why not? Because if I look for him now, he is going to think I am there to rescue him, and that would not help him. He needs to hit rock bottom. He needs to understand the consequences of his decisions. You are very wise, Mrs. Patterson. I am not wise. I am just a mother who learned to love in another way. I hung up, and that night I cried. I cried for my son, for the pain he was living, for the lessons he was learning. But I did not look for him because I knew he had to walk alone. 2 weeks later, I ran into Linda. It was at a cafe in the city. I was drinking a cappuccino, reading a book, and she walked in. We looked at each other, and for a moment I thought she was going to ignore me, but she did not. She approached my table. Emily, Linda, can I sit? If you want. She sat down. She ordered a tea. We were silent for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. I suppose you already know about Kevin and Sarah. Yes. Sarah is living with me. She is. She is very bad, I imagine. She says she made a mistake, that she never should have left Kevin. And what do you think? Linda looked down. I think I also made a mistake. Which one? The mistake of teaching my daughter that money is more important than love. I remained silent. For years, I told her to marry someone who could give her security. that love does not pay the bills, that she needed to think with her head and not with her heart. And now? Now I see that I have a daughter who does not know how to love, who only knows how to calculate, who only knows how to use. Her eyes filled with tears. And the worst is that I made her like that. Linda, no, Emily, let me speak. I owe you an apology. You do not owe me anything. Yes, I do. I treated you badly. I judged you. I made you feel less. Because deep down, I was envious. Envious of what? Of your strength, of your independence, that you built a company by yourself, that you did not need anyone to be someone. She wiped her tears. I got married young. I had Sarah young, and my husband. My husband supported me all my life. I never worked. I never had my own money. I never had my own identity. Linda, being a mother and wife, is also a job. I know. But it is not the same. When my husband died, I was left with a pension, with a house, but without purpose, without self-worth. Is that why you wanted Sarah to marry someone with money? Yes, because I did not want her to depend on someone like I depended, but I was wrong, because now she is worse. She does not depend on anyone because she does not know how to love anyone. She can still learn. Do you think? We can all learn, if we want to. Linda looked at me with sad eyes. Emily, will you ever be able to forgive me? I already forgave you, Linda. Really? Really? Holding a grudge only hurts me, not you. You are an admirable woman. No, I am just a woman who learned to let go. We stayed in silence drinking our drinks, and for the first time I felt compassion for Linda, because I understood that she was also a victim of a society that taught her that her value was in the man by her side, not in herself. A month later, I received a letter. It was from Kevin, handwritten, on a crumpled sheet with shaky handwriting. I opened it with a racing heart. Mom, I do not know if you are going to read this letter. I do not know if I still matter to you, but I need to write it. 4 months have passed since that dinner. 4 months that have been the hardest of my life. I lost my job. I lost my house. I lost Sarah. I lost everything I thought defined me. And in the middle of all that loss, I finally found you. Not physically, but in my memory. I remembered when I was a child and you read me stories before sleeping. I remembered when I was 12 and Dad died and you told me we are going to be okay. We are always going to be okay. I remembered when I graduated from college and you cried with pride. I remembered all the times you were there without asking for anything in return. And I realized something that shattered my soul, that I forgot you. I forgot you when I got married. I forgot you when I started making money. I forgot you when Sarah convinced me you were a burden. I forgot you when you needed me most. And now that I lost everything, I finally understand what I lost first. You, Mom. I am not writing to ask you to rescue me. I am not writing to ask for money. I am not writing to ask you to come back. I am writing to tell you thank you. Thank you for loving me, even when I did not love you back. Thank you for giving me everything, even when I did not deserve it. Thank you for letting me go when I needed to fall. Because you were right, Mom. Sometimes the only way to learn is by losing, and I needed to lose everything to understand what really matters. Now I live in a small apartment. I work in an electronics store. I earn little. I live with just enough. But for the first time in years, I feel free. Free from appearances. Free from expectations. Free from the lie. Every day I look at the brooch you gave me, and every day I remember your words. Love without respect is manipulation. You were right. I manipulated you. I used you. I hurt you, and there is no excuse for that. I just want you to know that I realize it, that I understand, and that I am going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you deserved as a son, even if I am no longer by your side. I love you, Mom. I have always loved you. Kevin. I finished reading the letter with tears rolling down my cheeks, And for the first time in months, I felt my son had awakened. Not the Kevin who had everything and valued nothing, but the Kevin who lost everything and finally understood. That night I replied to him, also by hand, on paper, with the same solemnity. Kevin, I read your letter several times and I want you to know something. I never stopped loving you. Not even when you hurt me the most, because that is what a mother does. She loves even when it hurts. But a mother's love does not mean allowing herself to be hurt. And that was what I had to learn. That loving is not enduring. It is setting limits. That loving is not giving everything. It is teaching to value. That loving is not staying silent. It is having the courage to speak. You did things that hurt me deeply, but I also did things that hurt you by letting you go, by selling the company, by pulling the rug out from under your feet, and I do not regret it, because now I see what you are capable of being. A man who works with his hands. A man who finally understands that value is not in what you have, but in who you are. I am proud of you, Kevin, not of the director of operations who earned $30,000, but of the man who works in a store and lives with just enough. Because that man is real. That man is free. That man is my son. You once called me embarrassing. Years later, I see that same emptiness in Sarah's eyes while she is alone in her mother's house, regretful. Life always collects its debts, and although our path has been painful, I am grateful because you taught me something I needed to learn, that letting go is not stopping loving. It is loving enough to let grow. When you are ready, look for me, not to ask me for anything, just to have a coffee and start over, as mother and son, as people who respect each other, as family that earned its place back. I love you, Kevin. I will always love you. Mom. I sent the letter, and 2 weeks later, Kevin knocked on my door. He was wearing old jeans, a simple shirt, worn shoes, but his eyes were shining. Hi, Mom. Hi, son. We hugged. And in that hug was all the forgiveness, all the pain, all the love. We did not talk about money. We did not talk about the company. We did not talk about the past. We just sat on my balcony. We drank coffee, and we talked about life. How is your work? I asked him. Tiring, but honest. I am glad. And you? How are you? Free. He smiled. I am glad, Mom. We stayed in silence watching the sunset. And finally, Kevin said, Mom, you were right about everything. No, not about everything, but about the important things, yes. Do you know what is the hardest thing about losing everything? What? Realizing it was never mine, that everything I had came from you, and that I took it as if I deserved it. Now you know. Now I know. He took my hand. Thanks for not rescuing me. Thanks for learning the lesson. And in that moment, I felt that karma had done its work, not with revenge, but with justice. Kevin had lost everything material, but he had gained something priceless: dignity, humility, and the opportunity to start over. As a new man, as my son. Finally. 6 months after that first coffee on my balcony, my life had found a balance I never imagined possible. It was not the life I had planned. It was better, because it was mine, completely mine. Kevin and I saw each other once a week, sometimes twice, but never more, because we both had learned something fundamental. Healthy love needs space. He continued working at the electronics store. It was not glamorous. It was not what he had dreamed of, but it was honest. He told me about his customers, about his coworkers, about how he was learning to live with less. Do you know what is the strangest thing, Mom? He told me one afternoon while we were drinking coffee in a park. What? That now I sleep better. Before, when I had everything, I lived with constant fear of losing it. Now that I lost it, I am no longer afraid. I smiled. That is called freedom, son. I never thought freedom would come from having less. True wealth is not what you have. It is what you do not need." He nodded, and I saw in his eyes something I had not seen in years: peace. He told me about the divorce process with Sarah. It was fast. She did not want anything from me because there was nothing left to take. "How do you feel about it?" "Relieved. Sad. But mostly relieved." "Why sad?" "Because I realize I never really loved her. I only loved the idea of her. The perfect wife, the perfect life. And her? I think she did not love me either. She only loved what I could give her. Then you are both better off this way." "Yes?" Although it hurts to admit it. We stayed silent, watching the children play in the park. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you ever regret selling the company?" I thought about his question. I really thought. No, not a single day. "Why not?" "Because the company was just stones and papers. You are my blood, and I preferred losing you temporarily to losing you forever." His eyes filled with tears. "You did not lose me, Mom. You found me. No son. You found yourself." And in that moment, I knew it had been worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every difficult decision, everything had been worth it. Because my son had returned. Not the son I had lost, but a better one who had learned. During those months, I also had news of Sarah, through Beatrice, my friend from the book club. "Emily, do you remember your daughter-in-law?" "Yes." "What about her?" "I saw her the other day in a cafe. She was with her mother, and they looked different. Sarah had lost weight, no makeup, simple clothes, nothing to do with the woman she showed off on social media. Did you talk to them?" "No, but I heard them talking. Sarah was crying. She was telling her mother that she had made the worst mistake of her life. Leaving Kevin? Yes. She said Kevin was the only man who had really loved her, and that she had despised him." I remained silent. "Do you want me to tell you something else?" "Tell me," her mother replied. "Daughter, I taught you everything I knew, but I never taught you to love. And that is what I regret the most." I felt something in my chest. It was not satisfaction. It was not revenge. It was compassion. Because I understood that Sarah was also a victim of an education that taught her that a woman's value was in what she could get, not in who she could be. "Do you think she is going to be okay?" Beatrice asked me. "I hope so. We all deserve a second chance, even her." "You are very generous, Emily." "I am not generous. I just learned that holding a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." Beatrice smiled. "That is why I admire you. Do not admire me. Learn from my errors." "What errors?" "The one of staying silent so long, the one of allowing them to disrespect me, the one of believing that love was enough without dignity. But in the end you solved it." "Yes. But it took me years, and I almost lost my son." "But you did not lose him?" "No, I did not lose him, and that was the truth that filled my heart every day." One Saturday afternoon, Kevin arrived at my apartment with something in his hands. "Hi, Mom. Hi, son. What do you have there?" "A gift. For me? For you." He handed me a small box wrapped in simple paper. I opened it. Inside was the silver brooch, the brooch of my mother, the brooch I had given to Kevin that night. "Kevin, I want you to keep it, Mom, but I gave it to you, I know, and it was the most valuable gift I have received, because every time I saw it, I remembered who I am and where I come from." Tears began to roll down my cheeks, but now I no longer need it to remember, because I carry it here. He touched his chest. "And I want you to have it back, because it is yours. It was always yours." I took the brooch with trembling hands. "Son, Mom, I also want to tell you something else." "What?" "I am saving. Not much, but something. And when I have enough, I am going to pay you back the money I asked you to borrow. Kevin, I do not need. I do need. I need to show you that I am not the same man who used you. I need to show you that I learned. You already showed me. No, not yet, but I will do it even if it takes me years. I hugged him, and in that hug I felt that the whole cycle had closed. The pain, the learning, the redemption, everything. I am proud of you, Kevin. Thanks for not giving up on me, Mom. I would never give up on you. You are my son. We stayed hugged for a long time, and when we separated, I saw the man he had become. Not the successful man who earned millions, but the worthy man who worked for his dreams, and it was beautiful. That night after Kevin left, I put on the silver brooch. I looked at myself in the mirror, and I saw a different woman, a woman who had passed through fire, who had lost everything, who had cried until she ran out of tears, but who had come out stronger, wiser, freer. I touched the brooch, and I heard my mother's voice. A woman who knows how to keep silent at the right moment also knows when to speak. I smiled. I did it, Mom. Finally, I spoke, and in the silence of my apartment, I felt her presence proud, satisfied, in peace. The following months were of a calm I had not experienced in years. I kept taking painting classes. I exhibited some of my works in a small gallery in the city. I did not sell much, but it did not matter because I did not do it for money, I did it for me. I kept going to the book club. The women became my family. We supported each other, we listened, we understood because we had all lived similar stories of sacrifice, of pain, of rebirth. One afternoon, while I was painting on my balcony, I received a call. It was Mark. Mrs. Patterson, how are you? Good, Mark. And you? Good, too. I am calling to tell you something. What happened? I resigned from Patterson Group. What? Why? Because the new owners do not have the values you had. Everything is just numbers for them. They do not care about people. I am sorry, Mark. Do not be sorry. It was the best decision. I opened my own consultancy, and guess who was my first client? Who? Kevin. I remained silent. Kevin? Yes. He has a business idea. Small, modest, but solid. He asked me to help him put together the business plan. What is it about? He wants to open an electronics repair shop, but with a social twist, repairing old devices to donate to low-income schools. I felt my heart swelling with pride. Mark, that is beautiful. It is, and the best thing is that he is doing everything on his own. With his savings, with his work, does he need help? He made me promise not to tell you anything. He says he wants to do it alone. I smiled, then respect his wish. I will. I just wanted you to know that your son is a good man, Mrs. Patterson. Finally, he is the man you always believed he could be. Thanks for telling me, Mark. Thank you for teaching us all what it means to have dignity. I hung up, and I cried. But this time, they were not tears of pain. They were tears of joy, because my son was building something, not with my money, not with my name, but with his hands, with his effort, with his heart, and that was worth more than any company. 6 months later, Kevin inaugurated his store. He invited me, but not as a guest of honor, but as just another person. Mom, I do not want you to feel obligated to go. Are you kidding? I would not miss it for anything. It is something small, nothing compared to. Kevin, stop. It is yours. And that makes it big. On the day of the opening, I arrived early. The store was in a working-class neighborhood. It was not luxurious, but it was clean organized with a hand-painted sign that said, Renovated Electronics, Second Chance for Everything. I smiled reading the name, because it was perfect. Kevin was inside with an apron preparing everything. When he saw me, his eyes lit up. Mom, you came? Of course I came. He showed me the store, the work tables, the tools, the devices he had already repaired. This TV goes to an inner-city school, this computer for a community center, this radio for a nursing home. Son, this is beautiful. It is little, but it is honest. It is everything. We stood looking at the store in silence. "Mom, can I tell you something?" "Always. I am happier now than when I had everything." "I know." "How do you know?" "Because it shows in your eyes." "And you? Are you happy? More than ever? Do you miss the company?" "Sometimes, but I would not change it for what I have now." "What do you have now?" "Peace, freedom, and my son back." We hugged, and in that hug was everything. Forgiveness, love, redemption, everything. The opening was simple. Neighbors came. Some customers. Mark, some people from Kevin's old job. But Sarah did not come, nor Linda. And that was fine because this new life had no room for people who only wanted to take, only for people who wanted to give. At the end of the day, when everyone left, Kevin and I sat at the entrance of the store watching the sunset. "Mom, do you know what day it is today?" "No, a year ago." "A year ago was the dinner where everything changed." "You are right. That day I thought I had lost everything, but now I see that day I gained everything." "What did you gain?" "I gained myself, and I gained you, for real this time." I took his hand. "Son, I was always there. You were just too blind to see me. I know, and I am sorry. Do not apologize anymore. Just keep going. Do you know what I am most grateful for?" "What?" "That you had the courage to let me go. Because if you had not done it, I would still be that empty man who only cared about appearances. You did not have to thank me. I had to do it. For you and for me. Did you ever doubt? Every day. But I knew it was the right thing. And if it had not worked, and if I had remained the same, then I would have learned to live without you, but with my dignity intact." He nodded. "You are the strongest woman I know. I am not strong. I just learned to love myself. That is being strong." We remained in silence, watching the sun hide behind the buildings. And in that silence, I understood something fundamental. That life is not about not falling. It is about getting up. That love is not about giving everything. It is about giving value to yourself. That family is not about blood. It is about respect. And that sometimes losing is the only way to win. That night, when I returned to my apartment, I sat on my balcony with a cup of tea, with the silver brooch on my neck, and I thought about everything I had lived, the pain, the betrayal, the loss, but also the healing, the forgiveness, the rebirth. And I understood that everything had been necessary, every tear, every difficult decision, every sleepless night. Everything had brought me here, to this moment, to this peace, to this version of myself that had finally found itself. I took my phone, and I wrote something I needed to write. Not for Kevin, not for anyone else, for me. "Dear Emily, today I want to tell you something I should have told you years ago. I am proud of you, proud of how you stood up when everyone gave up on you, proud of how you loved even when they hurt you, proud of how you had the courage to let go when it was necessary. For years you gave your value for what you gave to others. But today you know that your value is in who you are, not in what you have, not in what you give, not in what you sacrifice, but in your dignity, in your strength, in your capacity to love without losing yourself. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for learning to let go. Thank you for teaching me that self-love is not selfishness, it is survival. With love, yourself." I saved the note, and I smiled, because finally I was complete. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If my story teaches someone that love without respect is not love, it will have been worth it. If my story shows a mother that letting go is not stopping loving, it will have been worth it. Because pain is not eternal, but lessons are. And my lesson was this, that a woman who respects herself cannot be destroyed. She can be hurt. She can be betrayed. She can lose everything, but she cannot be destroyed because her value is not outside. It is inside, and no one can take that away. My name is Emily Patterson. I am 58 years old, and this is my story. The story of a woman who lost everything to find herself. The story of a mother who let go of her son so that both could be free. The story of a woman who chose her dignity above everything else. And if someone asked me today, was it worth it? I would say yes, 1,000 times yes, because now I sleep in peace, because now I live in freedom, because now finally I am me. Thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and activate the bell to listen to more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and until next time.